Um, Obviously, my relationship with Coach Lunny, with Barry Lunny, he and I were together at Arkansas. I actually had a unique opportunity. I followed Coach Bielema to Arkansas, and one of the things that always stood out to me was the way the young men in the program talked about Coach B and the relationships he had with them. So that was obviously another part that drew me to this place, and I'm just excited to be here.
So I with Barry for 2 years. And what made you want so excited to work with him?
Yeah, I'm a huge relationship guy. Relationships mean a lot to me. I think that's one of the reasons why you get into this business with kids, but also with the staff and the people that you work with on a daily basis. Obviously, Barry had done an unbelievable job recruiting and developing tight ends, and the way those guys played for him, and just the way he interacted with them. And another unique thing is I was with Barry during the transition when he was the interim, and just watching the way he went about his job, he was never phased, never too high, never too low. The husband that he is and the dad that he as a young dad, as a young, and we had just, my wife and I have been married 8 years now, so that was, gosh, I think we're a couple of years into marriage. So it was a great example for me as a young husband and as a young dad, to watch the way he interacted with them. So he's been a mentor of mine, and I'm excited to be here with him.
You hear a lot about your development of wide receivers. What do you feel like you do to help those guys kind of take the steps that they need to take?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is give them confidence. You know, like you guys will learn this about me. I'm a pretty positive guy. I don't focus on the negative things. There's obviously things that all of us out there get better at, myself included. But one of the things that I think I've done a really good job of is being positive with my guys, and breeding, like, just giving them confidence. Every single day in the meeting room, on the practice field, in everyday life. Hopefully, I've done a good enough job throughout my career of creating a positive environment where kids actually, the players, the young men actually enjoy coming in to the building every day, and being in the meeting room and learning and practicing. I think that's something that I take a lot of pride in.
Have you been here before you got
To,
this whole
to,
process started? You been to Champaign or been to the game either or anything?
no, sir, I have not. No, sir. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So we have my wife and I have some dear friends that their daughter went to school here, and she wears her Illinois stuff, and they were probably some of the happiest people when this move got made.
Barry play caller in his offense, especially the way they were able to throw the ball last year.
Yeah. Having the success they've had throwing the football here, especially last year, and just how, Barry asked me yesterday. He goes, "Is it weird for you to see me in the coordinator role?" I said, "Man, I was with you as when you were the interim head coach." He's very intelligent, but one of the things I love about Barry, and as a young coach, as an assistant coach, you want to feel like you have some input. And just in the few days I've been here 3 days, well, 4 days now. Is listening to him talk and ask. I mean, he was asking me stuff in there the other day, so you always want to feel like you have a little bit of a say. Obviously, it's his offense and Coach B's offense. So, but you always want to feel like you got a little bit of ownership in it. So the way he interacts with the staff, is very, very smart, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Success on the recruiting trail. What do you think are some of the qualities that allowed you to land some of those kids?
I think just being genuine, kind of like Coach McDaniel said. I completely 100 or agree 100% of what he said. You want to, when kids get there, it's not any different when they get there than what it was when you were recruiting them. I think that the whole thing is just being consistent, being the same guy every day, and being and staying in constant contact with the guys. There's no secret, sauce or anything like that with what I do. I just try to be myself. Again, relationships mean a lot to me. I've been blessed to coach really good players. It's not anything I've done. I've been blessed to be around a lot of really good receivers, and I think that obviously helps in recruiting.
Coach Bielema about states and territories where you might focus, or is it more positional than it is location?
Not really. Like I said, I'm just kind of getting here and getting rolling. I've been everywhere. The Carolinas. I've been in Texas. I've recruited Georgia, I've recruited Tennessee, I've recruited Florida. I mean, we have connections everywhere. So listen, you can put me wherever you want me. If you're a good recruiter, it doesn't matter where you are. It's about people. When you make people feel important and you value their opinions, and you're genuine, I think you can go anywhere and recruit.
The draw of working with Barry again as you kind of went through this process. What else intrigued you about taking this job in particular?
Coach Bielema said something to me one of the first times I talked to him. He said, as a man, you grow more when you're uncomfortable. I was in a very comfortable situation, but I think my wife and I have 2 young kids. I think it was a chance for us to go and do something on our own, kind of get away and be where we're not real close with family. Because when we were at Arkansas, we were close to my wife's family, so that was something that intrigued me. I'd always watched the Big Ten and kept up with it. And obviously watching Coach B and listening to the way the kids talked about him, I didn't think it was something I could turn down. I was ecstatic when Barry called me.
Your wife was like, let's go. She was all for it.
My wife ran the recruiting department at SMU in Arkansas, so she's about as in as you can possibly get. So she's a rock star, and she's ready to roll.
I think you mentioned Barry and his qualities as a father earlier on. But is there anything else like early when you two met each other that you remember thinking like, this is the guy that I kind of want to have a strong relationship with throughout this coaching field? Anything that stands out?
Yeah, I've been. I think now looking back on it, I was part of a staff that was let go, and I was the only person kept. And then Barry Lunny was in the same position, and the way he handled himself through that whole situation, like I'll never forget. And I was telling him this the other night. I'll never forget the first offensive staff meeting we had, and we were going through the roster, and Barry was in there and pretty much going through everything, and it was impressive the way he could just kind of get in there and blend in, and his honesty, But yeah, I watched the way he handled that whole situation, and it was definitely an example for me, and it's something that I used when I went through that transition as well. That really helped me.
Sounds like Coach Lenny was a great mentor for you. Are there other people like that? Other people that you look back as been part of your career?
Yes, sir. Like my high school coach. My dad was a high school coach. My high school coach, outside of my dad, the one guy that had the biggest influence on me was my high school coach. And I knew from a young age that I wanted to coach. I grew up going to practice. And I have an identical twin brother that coaches tight ends at Cincinnati. So, he and I grew up going to practice every day. That was if we got in trouble, we didn't go to practice, which was the end of the world to us, So I actually coached high school football my first year out of college, and probably would have, if I didn't have to teach elementary school PE, I'd have probably still been doing it. But, my mom and dad were both educators. So I'd definitely say my dad, watching him coach and having the players over all the time and being around him, obviously had a huge influence on me.
Not your high school coach, was somebody else?
My dad was my position coach, believe it or not. Ben Freeman.
Okay.
He is now retired, but had an unbelievable impact on me.
When you if you have something here, would you think about calling him?
Yeah, usually I call my dad. Yeah, I call my twin brother, and he was a high school head coach for 10 years in South Carolina before he got his chance in college football. So really just kind of bounce ideas off of him and kind of go from there. Yeah, yesterday, kind of like Archie said, yesterday was the first day we got a chance to watch these guys get out and move around. I've met with each one of them individually. I can't say enough about the young men they are. I mean, all of them are just I think they're all really excited. The great thing for them is that we're all kind of starting with a clean slate. I think one of the most impressive things is the size. I was really impressed with some of the length that we have in the room. But even more so, when you come into one of these stuff, listen, kids, they want good people to be around them. They want to be around good coaches, but are also even better men. Like as a coach, you want to be around good players, but you want to be around good kids too. And it seems from the conversations I've had with all my guys, it seems like I have a room full of those guys.
The epitome of being a coach's son, but I think Barry obviously has that.
Oh yeah.
Entail with you too.
Well, you get it twice. I got it at school because my dad was actually ended up being one of the principals. So I got it at school, and then I got it when I got home. So, but I learned at an early age, it's a lot more like he was going to be harder on me than he was anybody else, But I also knew my dad loved me. I knew he cared about me, so I knew where it was coming from. I'm a firm believer, and you can coach your kid only as far as your relationship goes. And I mean, my son's named after Cortland Sutton that played for me at SMU. So I mean, I'm a huge, like, relationships are the most important part, and I feel like no matter if it's your son, if it's a young man that you just met, if you can build that relationship with him, you can coach him as hard as you want to. Not screwing them up. No, I've told the guys I met with, like, the best players that I've had a chance to coach were the absolute hardest workers. And I watched Xavier Legette go from 18 catches in his entire career to 70 catches, 1,300 yards, and good Lord willing, a top draft pick. But I watched him work. Like, I watched him work in the winter, I watched him work in the spring, I watched him work in the summer. I used to have to run Cortland. I'd have to run Cortland Sutton, James Prochet, and Trey Quinn off the practice field. Traylon Burks, same thing. Mike Woods, same thing. Jalen Brooks goes and plays every single snap at gunner and corner, gets drafted by the Cowboys. I watched him work his way into a draft pick. I've been blessed, and I told those guys, like, our best players that I've been around were our hardest workers, and obviously that helps.
A lot of younger receivers in that group. I mean, how do you maybe tailor the approach to them, where they're at the beginning stage of maybe putting in that level of work?
Yeah, that's what I love. You get young guys in here, and you can kind of mold them the way you want to. And I think the greatest thing. Listen, I can show, like, I reference this all the time. I showed a drill that I had been doing for years at Arkansas. Well, Aaron Moorhead does it, and I know he's an alum, and I got half my ideas from him. So, but we were at A&M, and I got a drill from him, and he puts it on Instagram with the Eagles doing it, and now everybody thinks it's the greatest thing ever. So showing examples of those guys at the highest level doing those drills, and working the way they work. I mean, like I said, I'm blessed to have all those guys I still keep in touch with and keep in contact with, and hopefully Cortland will get up here and spend some time around those guys. But I love having young guys, because you can mold them the way you want to, and teach them how to work and show them examples of that.
Talk about leaving your comfort zone. I was wondering if that was at all difficult to completely uproot to a new part of the country. And then what do you hope that move can lead you? Obviously, a professional aspiration. So what do you hope that move can maybe propel you to?
Yeah, it was difficult. My dad and my mom were close to us, so that was difficult to leave. But one of the things that I told Coach B this last night, I think I've learned more in 3 days than I have in a long time, just from program stuff and just some of the stuff that I can't write fast enough in staff meetings with some of the stuff that he says. And one of the things he told me is, like, hey, I'm gonna help you grow to be a coordinator and be a head coach one day. And just in 3 days, just from being around him and being in the staff meetings and watching the attention to detail, and how we do everything, or how we do anything is how we do everything. Like, all that stuff, the little things matter. And so I'm taking that. I'm really looking forward to the other things that I can learn while I'm here.
Conference, you can look at more people, places you haven't been before.
Yeah.
This year, is it kind of, anything like that you can look forward to?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I would say all of them. I've been in every SEC stadium, being in that league for 6 years. Coaching in every single one of those stadiums. Obviously, with Texas and Oklahoma coming in, I hadn't been there. But yeah, I'd say all the schools. I'm really looking forward to the new conference. Definitely going to be different, but I'm excited about it.
What are your mom and dad's name?
My dad's name is Tim Stepp, and my mom's name is Cheryl Stepp.
Okay.
You played at Furman.
Yes, sir.
One of maybe the best known football games this entire year was the Furman Montana playoff game, which I'm sorry,
It's okay.
I saw the painful look on your face. Did you watch that game? I'm just curious of you as a football fan.
I did. Actually, that was an official visit weekend, and there were 3 kids on that visit, but I had it on my phone. I was watching it because I think they returned the opening kickoff, and I remember that distinctly. But Furman, before I went to Furman, my senior year, I committed to Furman. Furman played Montana in the national championship, and so I never got to play against them, but I've always admired the program, and I love FCS football. I mean, I'm biased because I played it, but I think it's really cool, and a lot of those kids at that level are playing because they truly love the game. So I think a lot of Coach Hendricks in what he's done at that program. And we were really good when I was there, and it's good to see him back on the map.
Dylan Davis here, a defensive lineman, is transferred from Furman. Have you gotten to talk?
Oh yeah, we saw each other yesterday. He came and found me. He's my new favorite.
Interesting. When Barry got here, was he just said, "Hey, these defenses are so different. I've got to learn how to change." I'm curious. Even in the week that you've been here, you looked up in the staff and you go, "Oh wow, that's different."
Yeah, this morning we were watching a certain a couple of Big Ten teams, and it is different. There's definitely some things that are going to be a challenge, but again, there's new things and new challenges, and you look forward to those things as a coach.